Today, we're talking about keys to victory for the Washington Commanders as they get set to take on the Miami Dolphins. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and follow the channel as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football daily. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about keys to victory for the Washington Commanders. And so I have two keys. And starting on the offense, I think that the Washington Commanders really need to come out and establish the line of scrimmage and run the football to open up the offense to get some points on the board. And then defensively, the Washington Commanders will need to get some turnovers in this game, and they should get turnovers. And so we'll talk about that more in a moment. So starting with the offensive side of the ball, look, I think that the Washington Commanders' identity has been running the football. I think that as they run the football, that really opens up a lot of different things. And I know it's been a challenge with the personnel and everything else at the wide receiver position, but still, you need to run the football to at least get defenses to kind of stack up that box and give yourself a chance to maybe make some big plays down the field here. And so one of the things that Cliff Kingsbury says in his presser is that the offensive line has really gelled. And it just made me think that the offensive line has probably been one of the more consistent units on the entire football team this year, and I think that when you look at the fact that the offensive line really has been together since training camp, they haven't had a whole bunch of players that have gone in and out of the lineup. And I just think that they've grown as a unit as well, because I'm thinking about Laramie Tunsil. I think that he's taken a step forward since he's been traded over here. I think that he's done a great job. I do feel like that Josh Conley Jr. has certainly taken a step forward as a rookie. I think that he's really picked it up from the start of the season, and I think that he's settled in very well. And I also think that the offensive line is now getting a boost with Sam Cosmi coming back. And so I do feel like that is going to be a benefit for this team down the stretch. Now, I think that running the football in this game is important because the Miami Dolphins really struggle, I think, against stopping the run. And when you look at the Commanders and their rankings right now at the time of this recording, they're still a top 10 rushing attack in the National Football League. And so right now, as far as rushing yards per game, seventh at 135.2 yards a game. And then yards per rush, they're sixth at 4.9. And then rushes per game, they're 13th at 27.5. And so I think that number should certainly go up some more. I think at times, this team does get away from the running game, especially in these last couple losses where the team has really been in situations where they're chasing. They've gotten away from the running game. And I think that if they can just establish a balance here, it's going to give them a chance really in the passing game. And so I hope that we see a lot more Chris Rodriguez Jr., who has been a full participant at the practice. And so he was dealing with a shoulder, but I'm seeing that he's listed as a full participant over the last couple of days, which is a good sign. And hopefully, we can get Bill going again, because I do think that he slowed down. And I do believe that some of that factors into the fact that he's had the rookie struggles. And then also, too, just with the offense and just really getting behind, it's kind of taken away those opportunities. And I would like to see some more of Jeremy McNichols, because I think that Jeremy McNichols has done a terrific job in the passing game, but I think that he should get some more touches there running the football, because I think that that's really what it was all about this season, was really they wanted to go with this running back by committee. And so let's see if Cliff Kingsbury is going to go a little bit more running back by committee, led here by Chris Rodriguez Jr. And let me say this too about the offensive line, and just giving them some credit here with what they've done as far as just protecting the passers. This last week in a very tough game against the Detroit Lions there, they only gave up 2 sacks, and that was on 22 pass attempts here. And so I do believe that if you can continue, to kind of hold up protection like that, cut that sack down just by 1, I think you're going to give yourself an opportunity in every game. And I do believe that by running this football, you have Marcus Mariota who can run it as well, but you're going to help him kind of open it up as far as getting it downfield, because Marcus Mariota will find you. It's just going to be a matter of, can you get some opportunities here from a guy like Jalen Lane? Can he step up? Can Robbie Chosen step up? Can Traylon Burks come back and continue really off of what he did last week as far as leading this unit with the 3 receptions for 58 yards, because I do believe that he's starting to show some flashes. It's just about staying healthy here. And so you're just trying to hang on, make some plays until you can get some major playmakers back. Because we talked about this in yesterday's video. Terry McLaurin, he started to get back on the field and do some rehab work. And then Noah Brown as well. Like, he's out there on the practice field doing some rehab work too. And so that's a good sign, for both of those players, that they hopefully will be able to come back. And you just want to have yourself in a good position once they do get back. And so next, talking about the defense and just really getting these turnovers, this is the game where the Washington Commanders must turn the football over, because at the time of this current recording, Tua actually leads the league as far as interceptions. And so he has 13 interceptions in 10 games, and the Commanders unit has 5 interceptions this season. And so, Tua is a guy that he is going to put the football out there for grabs. And I think that this is really one of those moments where we're going to find out some more about this defense. And so I know, it's been tough with the injuries and everything else, because I know just across this football team, it's been tough with the injuries, but especially the defense. But, just with all the headlines here with Dan Quinn taking over, as the defensive coordinator here, and he's one of the guys, that really has just preached that, hey, they want to get turnovers and things like that. Like, certainly, this football team is just an extension of the head coach. And so this is the game where I would like to see this team get some turnovers, because I do think that Tua is going to try to force the ball down the field here to Jalen Waddle. And really, he's the guy for the Dolphins. I think that he's the guy that you have to circle in on. He's had, a pretty good couple weeks here. He's had 80 yards plus over his last 5 games, or at least 5 out of his last 6 games. And so if you can take him away and then get Tua to try to go elsewhere on the field, I think that he's going to give this defense some opportunities to really turn it over. And hopefully, maybe this team can get these turnovers and actually turn them into scoring opportunities, because that would be huge, for this offense that's been hit with injuries and things like that. And at the very least, if you can just get it to where you have, just a shorter field, that certainly is going to help the Washington Commanders, which we really haven't talked about that is enough, as far as just flipping the field. Like, flipping the field is something that you absolutely want to do. And when you get these turnovers and things like that, that's one of the things that you can do here. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking as far as the Washington Commanders getting some takeaways. Like I said before, Tua coming into this thing leads the NFL as far as interceptions. So he had 2 last week against the Buffalo Bills, even though they won that game. And again, I think that this is the time for this Commanders defense to get some turnovers there. And then offensively, just leaning in on your identity. I think it comes down to just making it simple, lining up and just really establishing that line of scrimmage, pushing some people out of the way, making these third downs easy to get to, and just really keeping drives alive and just wearing down defenses that way. And even if, you are limited at the wide receiver position, just the fact that you are, running the football like that, defenses are going to have to honor that. And Cliff Kingsbury has said this. He really feels like that players will step up if they're given those opportunities. And so you're going to get some opportunities for some big plays, especially if you're going against man coverage. Now, the team's got to win there, but still you give yourself a chance by running the football. And so let's see what happens in this upcoming game. You guys let me know here as far as keys to the game, running the football and then getting takeaways. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And look, as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.